Hey everybody, how's it going? So this is going to be my last video of the day because it's, well, the end of the day. This is an interview that I was linked to with a CEO of WeBull, Anthony Denier, about what went on today and why brokerages were shutting down trading. And it helps to give me a little bit of a better idea of what's going on. Now, again, to be clear, I am not a financial services professional. I am not a stockbroker. I am not again, I don't work in the financial services industry. I'm not a banker. I'm just a MacBook repair person that's trying to make sense of a crazy world. So I have some questions and I have some doubts. And again, to be clear, I am not an expert on the matter, but I would be curious if any of you who know more than me when it comes to banking, trading, or how our financial system works can give some clarification in the comments for people like me who don't really understand entirely what is going on. So I'm just going to go ahead and play this, and then I will have my questions, and I'll kind of pause at any time something comes up that's a question.
But now we got Anthony Denier from WeBull, the CEO of WeBull, on. Hello, Anthony.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Jason? What's up, Luke?
Hello,
Luke, can you hear him?
What's up? Yes, I hear you. Welcome to the Power Hour. Good as always to chat.
Let me turn you louder. Okay. So, Anthony, what's going on in the market the past day? A lot of investors are wondering why they can't buy GameStop and AMC, and they wanted to hear from you and what's going on, etc.
Yeah, I would love the opportunity to at least get a little more exposure, right? Let's peek behind the curtain
Maybe talk a little louder because I'm doing it through speakerphone, I guess, into my microphone.
Okay.
But
I'll try to speak up. Let me know if I'm drowning out a little bit. But so there's so much going back and forth without any real facts. I think what we're seeing happening in social media, most specifically Reddit, is an echo chamber of concerns people have that have nothing to do with the financial markets and the intentions that go behind stopping a specific stock or a group of stocks from trading. It's very easy. I mean, no politician will leave any crisis to go to waste, right? Famously. So they see something trending, and now everyone's putting their own agenda on it. What's happening, and
I can't disagree with him there. However, at the same time, a lot of the people have a lot of distrust in the system in general and as a whole, and a lot of people are going to project their own distrust and aggravation at the system based in history onto something that happens in lack of an explanation. I think that's kind of a part of human nature. You just look back throughout history, and a lot of people have regularly, when they don't have an explanation for something, they come up with an explanation. You know, I'm not really sure how gravity works and the sun and the earth and spinning. You know, so you have Apollo moving the sun around the earth rather than gravity moving the earth around the sun and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, but my point I'm trying to make is that I am open to the idea that this is not some evil conspiracy with one person at the center, but rather just a cascading bunch of stupidity and fails. And I'm kind of curious what he winds up saying.
I was very angry when I got a call at about 10:58 a.m. this morning Eastern Time from our clearing firm, and they informed me that they will not be able to support new opening positions in 3 stocks specifically: GameStop, AMC, and KOSS. Now, after yelling and screaming, this is insane, the reality is this: we need to settle those shares. If you sell a stock of GameStop, you expect to get paid for selling that share of GameStop. And when that action doesn't happen, when you sell your share of GameStop for $350 and you get zero back at settlement, that's a very big issue. Now multiply that by the billions of shares that are exchanging hands in a day for a stock like GameStop, and then you have a situation where you have complete market collapse, right? So to explain it simply, the reason why our clearing firm is not able to support clearance on those specific symbols is simple. We clear through a system called DTC. Back, 200 years ago, you would buy a stock and you would pay someone out in front on the Buttonwood tree out on Wall Street in front of where now the New York Stock Exchange sits, and you would hand that person cash and they would give you a stock certificate, a paper stock certificate. We don't deal in stock certificates anymore because it's inefficient. We trade so much volume now, having all that paper obviously does not work. So companies like DTC were started. DTC is the go-to company. They own this business, basically. They pretty much have a monopoly. There are alternative ways to settle trades, but DTC settles more than 95% of trades that happen on the street. Now, DTC needs to maintain an orderly marketplace, meaning if you sell a share, you are going to receive payment for those shares. That's what they guarantee. In order to guarantee that, they set collateral rates for custodians, right, or clearing firms. So typically, on a typical day, there is 2 days till settlement. You trade today, you have tomorrow, Friday, and then you have Monday. So the stock will settle on Monday. Those 2 days, meaning Friday and until the funds actually come and exchange hands, so to speak, someone has to fund that trade. And the clearing firm does that. That's one of their jobs. And typically, there's a collateral of about anywhere from 1% to 3%. So if you were selling a share of Apple, that clearing firm until settlement date would pay 2% of the notional value of that trade to DTC that DTC will hold as collateral until settlement happens. Now, because GameStop, AMC, and KOSS are so volatile, DTC has raised that requirement collateral rate to 100%, meaning that for every single dollar that are so volatile, DTC has raised that requirement collateral rate to 100%, meaning that for every single dollar that exchanges hands in those stocks, the clearing firm has to send for deposit for 2 whole business days that exact same amount of the notional of the trade. Now, when we're talking about GameStop at $250, $350, billions of shares trading, we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars that the clearing firm physically has to send in cash to DTCC to hold there for 2 whole business days. And to be frank, the clearing firms are not that well capitalized. They can't do that. So in order to stop the clearing firm from going out of business, they stop the settlement of those shares, resulting in firms like WeBull not being able to allow customers to trade those stocks. Right? It's a market dynamic. And what's going to...
Now, the question I have here is, I'm only particularly familiar with Robinhood and some of the Ameritrade stuff, but why would it be that you were able to sell but not buy? Because let's say that you're not, if the clearinghouse is going to be dealing with it when I buy or sell a share, because for every buyer there is going to be a seller, if I sell my share and then I get paid for it, doesn't the clearinghouse have to pay me money or pay DTCC money that then pays me money, or the brokerage that then pays me money after I give away my share? I don't understand how this would be a one-way error. I can completely understand how this could be an error with the selling, with the selling and buying, but I don't get how it could just be an error in one direction. So I'm somewhat kind of curious about that.
What happen if DTC doesn't move that, right? So we want to blame DTC. We want to say DTC is the bad guy. They're raising requirements to 100%. Well, what happens if they don't do that? Then you have counterparty risk. So if I sold a share of GameStop to someone at $350 and that person was short and covered a short, say that person was Melvin Capital. Melvin Capital is now completely underwater. They don't have enough money to pay for that purchase to cover their short position. So now the clearing firm is going to pay on behalf of Melvin Capital. And then the clearing firm will try to collect that money from Melvin Capital down the line later on. If they don't get it, they mark it as a loss. Now multiply that billions of times.
Now that part makes sense, but by all means, what Wall Street Bets is doing to Melvin Capital, as I said in my prior video, is taking the free hands of the market and shoving it right up their ass. The problem here is, again, many firms were disabling buying but not disabling selling. So I don't understand. I don't understand that part of it.
Clearing firm can't pay to settle those trades. So you have billions of people that sell stock that aren't able to get capital back for that sale. You have counterparty risk. That means that you have a complete market breakdown, and it's a bigger story than just GameStop. It's the whole market is not able to function.
And you were saying...
Okay, so if the clearinghouse would wind up going insolvent because of having to deliver money for shares of GameStop when there is no money because Melvin Capital shorted over 140% and they have no money to pay for all of that at this price. That technically, at least from this explanation, it sounds like that would mean it would do that for everything. So if you're using that clearinghouse and that brokerage and your grandma wanted to sell her AT&T shares, she wouldn't be able to get paid for it. Or she wanted to sell her General Electric shares from 30 years ago, she wouldn't be able to get paid for it. So it sounds like one company shorting things to this extent and dealing with funny money, selling shares they don't have to the point where they sold more shares than what's actually available, if this is correct, has the ability to cause an entire market breakdown to where normal people that didn't touch GameStop or Melvin Capital with a rusty spoon would have been out and fucked, assuming that this is correct and that this isn't a line of shit.
2000.
And by the way, I gotta say, I respect the fact. Again, there's some level of respect I'll give to Anthony Denier here, just for the fact that he is willing to have a conversation with someone that he knows is being live streamed. You're not going to get that level of transparency from a lot of people. So, like it or not, think he's full of shit or not, at the very least, he's willing to speak at a time when people are incredibly aggravated at brokerages, and something better than that bullshit form letter that I got from Ameritrade. I got the most horseshit form letter from Ameritrade today, and a lot of Robinhood people got this. We're just trying to protect you, the user. It's like, it's so condescending. I appreciate this for being better than that.
Something like this happened, and they didn't raise the requirements, or what was that one like back then?
They were too slow to raise requirements, and we saw the trickle down effect when it started with Lehman, and then all the hedge funds that Lehman supported became counterparty risks because Lehman was the clearing firm for those funds. And now, if the clearing firm can't back the clearance of those trades, then you have a situation where you have people selling stocks that aren't able to get the money for selling those stocks. Complete market breakdown. That's why we had the government intervene and bail out all the big banks.
Okay, how does Citadel, when investors are asking me about Citadel, because in the some of these brokerages use Citadel to clear some of their trades. Does Citadel play a role in the DTC or as part of this?
Citadel is the company that gave Melvin Capital over $2 billion as a form of bailout, and they're also the ones that have a relationship with Robinhood.
They do have a play in it, absolutely. They are one of the biggest market makers on the street, and they facilitate a lot of the liquidity that we see, so we're able to buy a share without driving up the stock price 10% every time. They are what's called the street side of the trade. So there's the customer side of the trade and the street side of the trade. Citadel would be the street side of the trade. They're one half of the equation when it comes to clearing. So they're if it's not Melvin Capital on the other side, maybe it's Citadel side. But if a customer, if say John Doe is going to sell a share, they're selling it. They're not selling it versus Jane Doe. They're selling it versus the street. The street is usually a firm like a Citadel.
Is there an arguable statement to say Melvin Capital caused some of this because of their issue and then Citadel bails them out? Is there an argument of anything like that? Is that part of how this comes about, or would that be something that you wouldn't know?
I mean, it's kind of speculation where it really started, but certainly Melvin Capital's collapse had a big play in this. The ability for a big firm to not be able to clear or match the other side of a trade has a trickle down effect. It then goes to the clearing firm, and then you have fears about the clearing firm not being able to settle that trade. So I think that's where it started. Yeah.
Okay. And if you wanted to right now to take shares of GME, like if you wanted to, could you? Like if you wanted to, could WeBull take shares of GME?
I'm not following that. When you say take.
Sorry, not take, wrong word. If Joe Blow, investor in WeBull, wanted to buy shares of GME, could you sell them to him right now?
No, we cannot, because we do not have the ability to sell proprietarily. We are simply a platform for a venue for, in your case, Joe Blow, to get access to the exchange. That's all we are. We never take the other side of the trade. We don't have the ability to take the other side of the trade.
So if I'm an investment bank then, and I'm like and they take proprietary risk, they could take on those long trades potentially.
I mean, potentially that would be a special trade situation where it would happen off exchange. That does happen every once in a while. If you've ever looked at a chart and you've seen like a crazy print that's completely out of whack with how the stock's trading, that's sometimes called like an off exchange, transaction. And usually that happens where it's like, T. Rowe Price wanted to, move stocks from their flagship fund to their small cap fund, and they would have an internal trade at a specific set price that would be off where the current price is. That's usually how that happens. So it's very irregular for a retail investor to ever be involved in something like that.
Okay. Luke, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Well, just a couple things, right? There's some questions in the chat that keep asking the same thing, right? Which is why can't you buy some of these stocks? WeBull. Scroll back, guys. Anthony did an awesome job of explaining it and sort of what the market dynamics here are. The other question that I have, Anthony, and again, I know that it's not your decision to make, but do you have any idea as to when some of these stocks that are unavailable right now may become available again?
Yeah, there's two discussions going on. One is a discussion directly with DTC to lower their collateral rates, and then the second is getting funding. So right now, there's a lot of high-level phone calls happening at clearing firms around the country to banks, namely the JP Morgans of the world, the Bank of Americas of the world, the Pershings of the world, and they're looking for small, short-term bridge loans, right, where they can basically help out their balance sheet. They can lift up their balance sheet so they have the ability to send that collateral to DTC for the short term.
Got it. Okay.
Luke, does that make sense to you or no?
Yep, that does make.
Why would a major bank decide to co-sign risk sending collateral to DTC knowing that Melvin Capital would not be able to pay up? Also, why do I hear Batman music playing in the background? What the fuck was okay, so you guys probably heard ridiculous music start to play in the background because I left a Twitch stream that I was on and that I was doing a live stream with on. Yeah, so the obvious question that I would have there is, let's say that the clearinghouses are asking for short-term bridge loans from banks. If they're asking for those short-term bridge loans so that they could send money to DTC for money to make up for money that they know they're not going to get from Melvin Capital, why would Bank of America or JP Morgan approve that, knowing that this is happening because of Melvin and knowing that Melvin's going bankrupt?
Makes sense.
And by the way, guys, this is the CEO of WeBull that we have with us right now. I know there's some new people that have come in, and he's talking about the situation of why you can't buy certain stocks right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make it like really clear. I know there's a lot of pressure going on right now. There's a lot of emotion that's going into this, and I totally get it. I mean, I'm on board. The reason why we started WeBull was to lower barriers, right? To give everyone access to not only, awesome tools, but the market in and of itself, whether you have a $5 account or a $5 million account, right? You should have the same access, same tools, right? We've lived by that since day one. And, when I got the call today, right before 11 a.m. that we had to shut it down, it was horrible. It was horrible. And, it's one thing to get in front of it, and people know this, and this is not a political thing. This has nothing to do with manipulation. This is simply the inability for us to honor a trade. So if we opened up Gamestop right now against the wishes of our clearing firm, we said, you know what? Our clearing firm has no idea. They don't understand the zeitgeist, what's going on in the market. We're opening up Gamestop whether our clearing firm likes it or not. Someone's going to sell a share of Gamestop at where it's trading now, 220 something. Someone's going to sell a share of GameStop at 220, and you know what's going to happen? They're not going to get that money. That's a bigger deal. That's a lot worse. Because now they're out, right? Now the retail investor is the one that's really...
Again, I know that this is about WeBull. I know this is the interview with the CEO of WeBull, but this really doesn't explain to me how exchanges like Robinhood would shut down buying but not selling. So he's saying if you sell because of what happened, that you're not going to be that you wouldn't be able to get the money. But that wasn't the issue with Robinhood and others.
So, listen, every 10 minutes I have a call with our clearing firm. When are you guys ready? When are you guys ready? When are you guys ready? We need to turn it on. Want to turn it on. Want to turn it on. We're trying, guys. We're trying to get these stocks open.
And I also know that the clearing firm is talking to DTC and trying to say, open these things, move the requirements lower. We're going to try to bring on someone from DTC. I believe Brent is working on that right now. We're trying to bring the chief risk officer on from DTC because they're the ones who ultimately control it. Is that correct?
They're the ones that ultimately control the risk, yeah, and they're doing so to maintain the stability of the overall market, not of 2 or 3 specific stocks. Right? They want to make sure that there's a bigger story.
Okay, so when they were saying that we need to do this to control, we need to stop you from being able to purchase or sell a stock or whatever, trade this stock for the stability of the market, I think that this may have been, and to be clear, this is just speculation, that people misinterpreted that as, no, moron, we're protecting you from yourself. You're trying to make a risky trade. We can't allow you to do that. And then people who have been so sick and fucking tired of the rules being rigged in favor of billionaires for God knows how long thought, this is just rich people trying to rig it for themselves because they need to cover short. Screw that. When the more nuanced reality may be, because Melvin Capital shorted so much out of shares that are not even on the market and caused this insane squeeze, we may not be able to fill the trade. The clearinghouse may not have the capital to fill the trade, which means that when you sell and buy any stock, once they go to try to get all the money from Melvin Capital for all the shorted shares, and everybody sells GameStop all at once, or everybody buys into GameStop all at once at this ridiculous price, because again, as you see in Wall Street Bets, they're giving reasons as to why 5,000 is not a meme. That may result in the clearinghouse running out of money, and after the clearinghouse runs out of money, then you can't trade anything. Like, you can't trade AT&T, you can't trade General Electric, you can't trade AGRX, which is actually probably a good thing. Fuck AGRX. But the point is that that may be what was meant. And because they were so fucking horrible when communicating that message, because most modern day social media PR people are completely disconnected with the way people want to speak in the real world, they weren't able to explain it the way he was. Yet again, at the same time, let's say GameStop goes up to 5,000 or $3,000 a share. We would still at that point be looking at a market cap of what? Like, we have a 13 billion at 193. So we would still be looking at 300, 400, 500 billion dollar market cap. So it's hard for me to understand how this would wind up stopping the clearinghouse from being able to clear the trades when that's not even at 5,000 a share. We're looking at the market cap of what? Toyota? But again, this is where, like, me being a MacBook repairman that doesn't understand finance really starts to limit my understanding of what's going on here. And it would be great if somebody who knows finance better than me. I have a comment section. There's an upvote and downvote section. So, I'm confident that when you give people, when you democratize the upvote, downvote section, that the 100% truthful answer will be the one that's most upvoted. So, prove me right on that.
Story here than just a few names, and I think you guys are doing a great thing by getting the real information out there, because there's a whole lot going on behind the curtain of how an actual trade goes, what happens after you actually click sell or click buy on your app. There's so much more behind it, the mechanics, the funding, that when you can actually receive those US dollars in your account after you sold something. It's not blockchain. We're not there yet. And hopefully we get to blockchain where it's instantaneous. But we went from T plus 3 to T plus 2 a year and a half ago. Hopefully we'll be at T plus 1, in another maybe 6 months. But again, there's a lot of capital that's being put to work to make sure that you guys get paid for the stocks that you sell.
Yep.
Right? And I know that sounds like the corporate line, but it is true.
And Anthony, I'm curious, how you feel about this whole situation in general, right? Like this rise up of the retail trader, like us at Benzinga, we love it. I mean, that's what we live for, I mean, again, I said at the top of the show, the reason why we started the company was because there's a dearth of information, and we want to level the playing field and be the news source that can do that. But I'm curious.
Can I name myself Hot Iron Lewis? Like, if he can be Hot Stocks Luke, I got to be able to be Hot Hacko Lewis. Hot Hacko Lewis. Oh, yeah.
How you view this whole situation.
Oh, we love it. I mean, this is why we started WeBull. This is powering the individual investor. I mean, we've seen for so many years, the little guy was always holding the bag at the end of the day, no matter what it was. And this is the best thing that could ever happen. It's going to lift the eyes of the regulators from not focusing on PDT restrictions and moving their focus onto maybe not allowing hedge funds to take 10-time leverage or being able to short 140% of the total market cap of the stock.
This is what I've been saying this whole time, which is that stop putting the focus on these people on Reddit that found out that the hedge fund was gaming the system, and put the focus on the fact that the hedge fund was gaming the system. So I have some level of trust for this guy, because when he's being interviewed, he is not at all throwing the Reddit people or the Wall Street Bets people under the bus. He is throwing the hedge fund under the bus. He is saying that what they did was wrong, not what the people on Reddit did was wrong, which, again, I will give him some credit for, even if I can't really confirm or deny what he's saying, because my realm of expertise, PP by G3 Hot 8.55 volts, PP by G3 Hot 8.15 volts. One's good, one's bad. I know which one's good and which one's bad, but this, again, this is outside what I know.
How does that even happen? How do you short a stock past its market cap? Past its free float?
I didn't even know you could do that before this week. That you can sell 140% of the stock short. I mean, it's crazy to me when I figured that out. And I'm like relatively knowledgeable.
Yeah,
these are unique times. The power of chat rooms, the power of social media is now it's getting involved in all aspects of our life, and now it's involved in finances, and this is a good thing.
So one thing that keeps getting asked, maybe you know the answer, the brokerages are allowing people to sell their stock but not buy the stock. So if I can sell, then who's buying?
Well, when you say who's buying, you're saying who's the other side?
Yeah, so like if I own 1,000 shares of GameStop and I sell, is it the clearing firm? Like if I'm not allowed to buy more GameStop, why? Like, you were saying, if I sell stock, who's going to fund it? How am I going to get the money? I would actually, go ahead, what are you going to say?
Yeah, no, the market still exists. This is clearing firm specific, right? So basically the reason why, so TD shut it down first on Monday, I believe. Right, or maybe Tuesday. I'm sorry.
I bought my GameStop on Monday, so I don't think so.
TD shut it down first, and then Robinhood. I mean, Vlad was on TV yesterday talking about how they're keeping it open, right? I mean, this is what Robinhood was built for, and then they shut it down. So it's now affecting in like a cascading effect all the different clearing firms. So then what happened is you saw a huge influx of GME and AMC orders come through to our clearing firm, right? Our clearing firm, covers Tastyworks, WeBull, SoFi, Ally. I mean, really big app-based platforms go through our clearing firm. So now our clearing firms saw a huge influx because these orders weren't getting cleared through TD anymore. They weren't getting cleared through Robinhood, and all of a sudden our clearing firm, looked at their calculation on how much they would have to put on collateral reserve, DTC, and said, "Oh, we got to stop now." And then I believe a couple minutes ago, TD just said, "Well, we're back open for these names," right? Because their 2-day settlement cycle ended. Now they have a bunch of capital on their side, and they're going to see a huge influx of orders come to them. It's all, kind of pushing it back and forth, right? It's a cascading effect. Yeah,
and so part of me would think that the settlement brokers would not want us to be able to sell. They want us to be able to. I know they can't do that. They would want us to buy, because if we're buying,
I actually
there's more money going
that,
to the
so
stock.
I'm going to try listening to that again. I'm sorry if that aggravates people watching, but I genuinely
you were saying,
if
I sell stock, who's going to fund it? How am I going to get the money? I would actually go ahead. What are you going to say?
Yeah, no, the market still exists. This is clearing firm specific, right? So basically the reason why, so TD shut it down first on Monday, I believe, right, or maybe Tuesday. I'm sorry, I've been away for 3 days. TD shut it down first, and then Robinhood. I mean, Vlad was on TV yesterday talking about how they're keeping it open, right? I mean, this is what Robinhood was built for, and then they shut it down. So it's now affecting in like a cascading effect all the different clearing firms. So then what happened is you saw a huge influx of GME and AMC orders come through to our clearing firm, right? Our clearing firm, covers Tasty Works, WeBull, SoFi, Ally. I mean, really big app-based platforms go through our clearing firm. So now our clearing firms saw a huge influx because these orders weren't getting cleared through TD anymore. They weren't getting cleared through Robinhood. And all of a sudden our clearing firm, looked at their calculation on how much they would have to put on collateral reserve, DTC, and said, oh, we got to stop now. And then I believe a couple minutes ago, TD just said, well, we're back open for these names, right? Because their 2-day settlement cycle ended. Now they have a bunch of capital on their side, and they're going to see a huge influx of orders come to them. It's all, kind of pushing it back and forth, right? It's a cascading effect.
Okay, so I think the reason I didn't understand his answer is because he didn't actually answer the question. He did the politician thing, I believe, of answering a different question than what was asked. So they asked, what's up with the fact that you can sell but you can't buy? And the reason I didn't understand his answer is because he didn't actually answer the question. So at least I'm not going insane.
Yeah, and so part of me would think that the settlement brokers would not want us to be able to sell. They want us to be able to. I know they can't do that. They would want us to buy because if we're buying, then there's more money going to the stock. But they're trying to stop the big. What? Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but if you buy, you're paying for the stock, and for those 2 days, the clearing firm has to front your money for you. Right? If you sell, they already hold the stock. They don't have to front the cash for a sell. DTC doesn't require any collateral for a sell. They only.
Okay, well here you go. That actually makes some sense. So if I'm a Robinhood user and I want to buy a stock, Robinhood's clearinghouse has to front the money to the person that I'm buying the stock from. But if I'm on Robinhood and I'm selling a stock, Robinhood is just giving the stock to someone else. They're not giving the money to someone else. So Robinhood is not on the hook for money. They're on the hook for stock, which in this case is just, a digital signature or some shit at this point. Because again, we're not trading paper anymore. So that almost makes sense. But the part that I'm confused about is, wouldn't this just come around and fuck over every single If all these brokers are using similar clearinghouses, then why wouldn't every broker say you can't buy? Why was it only some brokers saying you can't buy and others not saying you can't buy? That's what doesn't make sense to me. That's the part that I'm curious if we get an answer to here.
Collateral for buys.
It seems like that's what we need to fix. Like I don't understand all the dynamics, right? But in today's day and age, it seems like
you're supposed to. You're Hot Stocks Luke, Hot Hackle Rossman. I'm supposed to understand the pee-pee bus. Disappointed in you, Hot Stocks Luke.
Do these transactions instantaneously instead of having that 2-day clearing period.
I come here to learn.
Yeah, no, but hopefully blockchain is the answer to that.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yes.
We can do it on the blockchain instead of the 3-day clearing.
Yep, exactly.
That would be interesting because so now you're just at the whim of the clearing firm and whatever the clearing firm works out with DTC. Now, does Ameritrade have to go through? I'm assuming. Do they have to work with DTC or their own?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So TD has their own clearing firm. They clear for themselves. Robinhood clears for themselves. The big guys, they all do. Fidelity clears for themselves. Obviously, Merrill Lynch is one of the biggest. They clear for themselves. So they can they pick and choose themselves if they want to open and close it based on the capital they need to put in collateral. But everyone, like I mentioned earlier, like 95% of every single trade that happens on the U.S. exchanges settles, meaning crosses hands, right? Paper certificate, obviously now it's digital, for cash, happens at DTC.
Got it. That's okay. Got it. So that too, if we want, they're going to be the ones that have the immediate updates. Like they're the ones that are going to dictate what happens with you guys, with Apex, with Dry Wealth, whoever the clearing firms are. They're the ones that are the ones who are going to dictate what's going to happen next.
Yep. The DTC should be. Hopefully, you guys get some representative from DTC on the show. Hopefully, they can shed a lot more light on what they're seeing. But again, their job is to maintain the stability of the market, right? Not the stability of one or two stocks, the stability of the market as a whole.
Got it. And the question that people keep asking, but I think you've explained it. They keep asking, if I sell a stock, why wouldn't I be able to get paid? And that could happen if there isn't the buyers to fund the buy because the stock price goes down so much. It's what happened with Melvin, but on the other side of the transaction, right?
Exactly right. So, I mean, even if you think Melvin's hard to imagine because it's such big numbers we're talking about, but if you keep it real simple and kind of think your own account, you go short a stock. Say you got short Kodak, right? If you remember that trade, you got short Kodak, and next thing you know, news comes out that the government is giving them a huge loan, and the stock's up 400%, and now you just have a 400% loss at least in that stock. Your account could be negative $100, right? Your account, you lost everything in your account because you don't have enough money in your account to buy that short back. So what's going to happen is your broker, I say WeBull's going to buy in your account. We're going to cover your position so the position is flat, and then we're going to call you up and say, please deposit that $100. And if you say, I don't have $100, what's going to happen is WeBull is going to be left holding that debt, and most likely we'll just write it off. But if you multiply that by a huge amount, and it's, we're talking billions of dollars, WeBull.
Just rewind that. Sorry, I just want to hear that one more
Stock
time.
price goes down so much. It's what happened with Melvin, but on the other side of the transaction, right?
Exactly right. So, I mean, even if you think Melvin's hard to imagine because it's such big numbers we're talking about, but if you keep it real simple and kind of think your own account, you go short a stock. Say you got short Kodak, right? If you remember that trade, you got short Kodak, and next thing you know, news comes out that the government is giving them a huge loan, and the stock's up 400%, and now you just have a 400% loss at least in that stock. Your account could be negative $100, right? Your account, you lost everything in your account because you don't have enough money in your account to buy that short back. So what's going to happen is your broker, I say WeBull's going to buy in your account. We're going to cover your position so the position is flat, and then we're going to call you up and say, please deposit that $100. And if you say, I don't have $100, what's going to happen is WeBull is going to be left holding that debt, and most likely we'll just write it off.
Okay, now I understand.
But if you multiply that by a huge amount, and it's, we're talking billions of dollars, WeBull isn't going to be able to cover that debit. So what happens, our clearing firm will cover it for us. Now, if you multiply that number even bigger and the clearing firm can't cover that debt, now you have total counterparty shutdown. So that person that sold the stock to you that we had to buy to cover your short position, that person is not going to get paid by anyone because the customer can't pay for it, WeBull can't pay for it, and then the clearing firm can't pay for it. So then there's a complete market breakdown.
All of that makes sense, except for the fact that we're already in the position where Melvin is close to insolvent, and people were allowed to sell GME yesterday. So people were allowed to sell GME yesterday, and Melvin is already insolvent. I still, in some way, shape, or form, don't understand the whole aspect of you can sell, but you can't buy. That's still not making sense to me.
And you don't work. I mean, you don't work with like Citadel, because you work with a clearing firm. You don't have your own cleared, right?
We do not. Apex Clearing is the name of our clearing firm. They do clear for pretty much all of the new brokers that have come out in the past couple of years. They are like a technology-focused type of clearing firm. But Citadel we do work. We do partner with Citadel, but solely for stock execution, right? Not for settlement. And then what happens is Citadel will settle directly with our clearing firm, Apex. We have nothing to do with that clearing process.
Okay, got it. Yeah, no, I get it. I appreciate you coming on. You guys, I mean, it's I know your hands are tied because you can't make trades, and I know you guys want to make the trades. You guys want people to buy it, and
we want to. I mean, this is what we do. We want customers to be able to trade everything in the market. We don't restrict. We didn't restrict Hertz when Hertz was going on, yet some platforms did based on, I don't know, they're assuming they call it customer safety. I think a self-directed account shouldn't be directed by the brokerage firm. We want every single stock that's listed to be able to be traded by our customers, full stop. And right now, we were told that if we allow customers to trade these, they will not be able to settle those shares. Meaning our customers will be in a worse position if they wanted to sell GameStop and listen to our clearing firm. They won't get paid for selling their shares, and that's something we can't live.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, it's. Will you update us when you have any updates on this stuff or anything that you hear about? And people are frustrated because there's a lot of fans of a couple of these stocks, and they're frustrated. So I know where you're at, and so just call us if you have any updates or you have any advice for what people should do, and they're in these positions, and we'll go from there.
No worries. If I hear of anything that's interesting or I have any updates, I will shoot you a text, and you'll be one of the first to know.
All right. Thank you, Anthony, WeBull CEO, for coming on and listening to the questions. Luke, did I miss any last thing you wanted to say? I know you get mad when I cut you off.
No. Anthony, thanks so much for joining the Power Hour, getting this out there as we all sort of try to trudge through this wild week of the market.
So this is the Benzinga channel. I'll include a link below to check it out. So this really does sound like cascading stupidity. Somebody let Melvin short that many shares. Melvin shorted that many shares. They got caught. And now the clearinghouses are saying, we will not be able to fulfill the trade because what, man, I'm having my brain is half on fire. Because DTC is requiring that they provide 100% rather than the 2 to 5% or whatever he mentioned as collateral before the trade settles. That's a doozy. I still stand by the fact that I believe that someone should go to prison for this. Like, at some point, you can't use stupidity or whoops, mea culpa. I accidentally did something that when I got caught had the capability to ruin the entire financial markets. And I really hope that the difference between 2007 and 8 to 2021 is that someone does go to prison for this. And the problem with this kind of thing is that you have to send someone to prison that did something that someone else was able to get away with 2 or 3 or 4 months ago. Like, they were here, then you were here, and they were here, and here, and then you were here. And it's a bunch of little steps. But like, if you're here, and this person didn't go to prison, and this person didn't go to prison, and this person didn't go to prison, even though they only did something really a tiny bit less bad than you, why is it's not really fair that you go to prison just because you were the one that took that teeny step forward that actually almost destroyed the entire financial system, when this person over here really did something that's virtually the same, but they just didn't destroy the financial system. But someone at some point has to draw the line. And this is what I've noticed in management, is the person that finally draws the line and says, no, this is too much, but they were doing it. I don't give a fuck what they were doing. You crossed the line. I draw the line here. I'm going to be the dick today and say that this is where we put the fucking line. You got to go. That's one of the hardest parts of management, because you have to really be okay with feeling like an asshole or a dick by choosing to draw the line here rather than here, because it's going to seem unfair. Well, they were doing it. Why am I in trouble? But if you never really draw that line, you wind up getting to where you are now, where you have people that are fucking shorting 140% of the float and almost destroying the financial system. I still don't understand everything behind it. And there are still questions in my brain. I don't know if that's because it's almost midnight and I'm kind of tired, or because my brain is too small, and even if I were listening to this during the day, if I still wouldn't understand it. But I'm hoping that this brings some perspective to people. A lot of people have been linking me to this stuff. A lot of people have been asking me to cover it. I'm sorry if I'm not able to explain it in a big brain way. I'm just effing tired and exhausted. But I wanted to at least bring this to the attention of the people watching. This video has less than 4,000 views right now, and it has the CEO of a major exchange on it. So I'm kind of hoping that this will send some people over to the Benzinga channel. It seems like they do some good interviews. Subscribe to Hot Stocks Luke. He's got he gave me some good naming ideas. So this is interesting. You got DTC is a subsidiary of DTCC, who raised the requirement from that 2 to 5% mark to 100% for the collateral of the trades. This is really interesting. It kind of reads like Final Fantasy IX. First you think that Brain is the bad person, but then it's not actually Brain, it's Kuja. And then it's not Kuja, it's Garland. And then it's not Garland, it's Trans Kuja. And then it's not Trans Kuja, it's Necron. So you just kind of keep peeling back the layers of the onion. Like first you think it's just Melvin Capital or just Melvin Capital and Robinhood. And then you figure out it's them and Citadel. And then you figure out it's them, Citadel, and DTCC. And it's just, I'm kind of, this is interesting, just kind of peeling back all the layers of the onion. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. I don't feel like getting back up to turn my camera back on, but let's say there's a couple of other things that kind of got me here, which is the first one is that if the whole idea is that they're only putting up money when they buy something, but not when they sell something, wouldn't every firm at some point decide we're not well capitalized enough to allow buying to where every brokerage says no buying rather than just one or two or three of them? But more importantly, rather than just disallow buying, what if you allowed buying and selling, but you said shares are not going to close for a week? So the whole idea is that when the money needs to be transferred, that's when, because of the incredible high trading volume of this stock, that's when they're going to be screwed, because usually they can put up just 2% collateral before the shares settle over 2 to 3 days, and now they're being asked to put up 100%. So what if they said when you made a trade, let's say on Robinhood or any of these apps, what if instead of just disallowing trading, couldn't they have just said when you buy or sell any shares of GME, it will not, your trade will take 1 full week to process or something like that? It would piss people off, but it would piss people off to a much lesser extent. So a part of me is still not completely understanding this. Perhaps that has to do with it being midnight. Either way, I'm out for real now. That was my last thought before I had that right after I clicked X on it, and I'm kind of tired.